You know that uncomfortable, heavy feeling after a meal, like you've swallowed a balloon? Maybe you've even unbuttoned your pants a little, we've all been there, or found yourself rubbing your belly, wondering, why do I feel so bloated these days? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. As we get older, our digestion changes, and certain foods that never bothered us before can suddenly leave us feeling puffy, gassy, or just plain uncomfortable. But here's the good news: bloating doesn't have to be a daily battle. A lot of it comes down to the foods we eat, and more importantly, the ones we might want to avoid. In this video, we'll talk about 5 common foods that could be causing your bloating after 60, and I'll share some simple, tasty swaps to keep your digestion happy. Because let's face it, no one wants to spend their golden years feeling like a stuffed turkey. Now, before we dive in, let me say this: I'm not here to tell you to never enjoy your favorite foods again. Life's too short for that. Instead, think of this as a little roadmap, a way to spot the sneaky culprits, so you can make small adjustments without giving up the meals you love. So let's start with the first food you might want to keep an eye on: dairy. Let's talk about something many of us have loved since childhood but might be causing us some unexpected discomfort these days: dairy. Picture this: you're sitting down to enjoy a nice bowl of your favorite ice cream or a delicious cheesy omelet, just like you've done countless times before. But lately, instead of that satisfied feeling after a good meal, you're left with an uncomfortable bloated sensation, maybe even some gas or cramping. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know first and foremost, you're not imagining things, and you're certainly not alone in this experience. What's happening here is actually a perfectly normal part of aging that many people don't realize until it starts affecting them personally. Inside our bodies, we have an enzyme called lactase whose job is to break down lactose. That's the natural sugar found in milk and other dairy products. When we're young, most of us produce plenty of this enzyme to handle dairy without any issues. But here's the thing: as we get older, often starting in our 50s and 60s, many of us gradually produce less and less of this helpful enzyme. It's not that anything's wrong, it's just our bodies changing naturally over time. Without enough lactase doing its job, that lactose from dairy foods doesn't get properly broken down in the small intestine like it should. Instead, it moves along undigested into the large intestine, where all those gut bacteria we hear so much about these days get to work on it. Now, these bacteria mean well. They're trying to help by fermenting the lactose, but this fermentation process creates gas as a byproduct. And that gas is what leads to all those uncomfortable symptoms. The bloating that makes your clothes feel tight, the gassiness that can be embarrassing, and sometimes even cramping or diarrhea for some people. But here's where it gets interesting: not all dairy affects everyone the same way. You might find that a glass of milk leaves you feeling miserable, but a slice of cheese doesn't bother you at all. Or maybe yogurt sits fine, but ice cream is a guaranteed recipe for discomfort. These differences actually make perfect sense when we look at what's really in these foods. Milk, for instance, contains about 12 grams of lactose per cup. That's quite a bit for someone with limited lactase to handle. But when we look at aged cheeses like cheddar, Swiss, or Parmesan, they naturally contain much less lactose, sometimes less than 1 gram per serving, because of how they're made. The cheese-making process is actually quite fascinating when it comes to lactose. As cheese ages, the bacteria and enzymes used in production continue breaking down the lactose over time. That's why a sharp-aged cheddar might not bother you at all, while a fresh cheese like ricotta or cottage cheese could cause problems. Similarly, yogurt often contains less problematic lactose because the live cultures in yogurt have already started breaking it down for you, though this can vary depending on the type and brand of yogurt. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Does this mean I have to give up all my favorite dairy foods forever? Absolutely not. The good news is we have more options today than ever before to enjoy dairy without the discomfort. Lactose-free products have come a long way in recent years. The milk tastes just like regular milk because it is regular milk, just with the lactase enzyme added to it to do the work your body isn't doing as much of anymore. You'll find lactose-free versions of everything from milk to ice cream to cream cheese these days, and most are indistinguishable from their traditional counterparts. For those who love cooking with dairy, there are some clever kitchen tricks that can help too. If a recipe calls for milk, try heating it first. The heat can help break down some of the lactose. Combining dairy with other foods during a meal, rather than having it alone, can sometimes make it easier to digest as well. And if you're a yogurt lover, look for varieties that specifically mention containing live and active cultures. These friendly bacteria can actually help your body process the lactose. It's also worth mentioning that how much dairy you have at one time makes a big difference. Many people find they can handle small portions of regular dairy spread throughout the day better than one large serving all at once. So instead of a big bowl of ice cream, maybe try a small scoop and see how you feel. This gradual approach gives your body a better chance to handle whatever lactase you're still producing without overwhelming your system. What's really important here is listening to your own body and finding what works for you. Some people discover they need to avoid dairy almost completely, while others just need to make a few adjustments to continue enjoying it comfortably. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, and there's certainly no need to deprive yourself unnecessarily. The key is being mindful of how different dairy products affect you personally and making choices accordingly. Remember, dairy isn't the enemy. It's a great source of calcium, protein, and other important nutrients, especially as we get older and bone health becomes more crucial. The goal isn't to eliminate dairy entirely unless you absolutely need to, but rather to find ways to include it in your diet that keep you feeling your best. Whether that means switching to lactose-free products, choosing aged cheeses, or simply moderating your portions, you've got plenty of options to work with. The bottom line is this: if dairy has been giving you trouble, it's not your imagination, and it's not something you just have to live with. With a little experimentation and some smart substitutions, you can likely find a way to still enjoy the dairy foods you love without paying for it later with bloating and discomfort. After all, food is one of life's great pleasures, especially as we get older, and everyone deserves to enjoy their meals without worrying about how they'll feel afterward. Next up, beans and lentils. Let's talk about one of nature's most nutritious yet sometimes troublesome foods, beans. That old playground rhyme calling them the musical fruit isn't just child's play. It's rooted in some very real digestive science that becomes especially relevant as we get older. Beans, along with their legume cousins like lentils and chickpeas, are absolute powerhouses of nutrition, packed with plant-based protein, complex carbohydrates, and an impressive array of vitamins and minerals. But here's where it gets complicated. That same nutritional profile that makes them so good for us can also be what causes that uncomfortable bloating and gas many of us experience after eating them. What's really happening in our digestive system when we eat beans is a fascinating process that explains why they affect us the way they do. The primary culprits are certain complex carbohydrates, called oligosaccharides, specifically raffinose and stachyose, that our bodies simply don't have the enzymes to break down completely in the upper digestive tract. Unlike simpler sugars that get absorbed in the small intestine, these complex molecules pass through to the large intestine mostly intact. This is where our gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in our colon, goes to work on them through a fermentation process. While this fermentation is actually beneficial for our gut health, producing important short-chain fatty acids that nourish our colon cells, it also produces carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and sometimes methane gas as byproducts. And that's what leads to the bloating and flatulence beans are famous for. But here's something important to understand. This reaction isn't a sign that beans are bad for you or that something's wrong with your digestion. In fact, it's a completely normal physiological process. The degree to which people experience these effects varies widely based on factors like the composition of their gut microbiome, how often they eat beans, and even genetic factors that influence digestive enzyme production. Many people don't realize that regular bean consumption can actually lead to decreased gas production over time as the gut microbiome adjusts to better handle these complex carbohydrates. This is why people from cultures where beans are dietary staples often experience less discomfort than those who only eat them occasionally. Now, before you think about eliminating beans from your diet completely, which would mean missing out on all their incredible health benefits, let's talk about some practical strategies to make them more digestible. One of the most effective methods is proper preparation. If you're starting with dried beans, which are often more economical and have better texture than canned, soaking them overnight in plenty of water serves several important functions. First, it begins breaking down those troublesome oligosaccharides through enzymatic action. Second, it helps remove some of the compounds that inhibit nutrient absorption. And third, it significantly reduces cooking time. The key is to discard the soaking water and use fresh water for cooking. That soaking water contains many of the compounds that cause digestive distress. For those using canned beans, a perfectly good option for convenience, thorough rinsing under running water can remove much of the indigestible carbohydrates that have leached into the canning liquid. You'll notice the water gets foamy as you rinse. That foam contains some of the very compounds we're trying to minimize. Rinsing for a full 30 to 60 seconds can make a noticeable difference in digestibility. Cooking methods matter too. Beans should always be cooked until completely tender. Undercooked beans are much harder to digest. Slow, gentle cooking helps break down more of the problematic compounds. Some traditional cuisines add digestive aids during cooking. A piece of kombu seaweed in Japanese cooking, epazote herb in Mexican cuisine, or asafoetida in Indian dishes. These aren't just flavor enhancers. They contain enzymes that help break down gas-producing compounds. If you're new to eating beans or haven't had them regularly, your digestive system will need time to adapt. Start with small portions, perhaps 1/4 to half a cup at a time, and gradually increase as your tolerance improves. Pairing beans with digestive herbs and spices like ginger, fennel, or cumin can also help minimize discomfort. Some people find that eating beans as part of a meal rather than by themselves makes them easier to handle, as other foods can help moderate the digestive process. It's worth noting that different types of beans affect people differently. Generally, smaller beans like lentils, adzuki beans, and mung beans tend to be more easily digested than larger varieties like kidney beans or chickpeas. Split lentils, having had their outer skins removed, are often the gentlest introduction to legumes. The skins of beans contain much of the fiber that contributes to gas production, so peeled or split varieties can be a good starting point for those with sensitive digestion. Fermented bean products like tempeh or properly prepared traditional miso offer another alternative. The fermentation process predigests many of the problematic compounds, making these foods typically much easier on the stomach while still providing all the nutritional benefits. Similarly, sprouted beans and lentils have had some of their complex carbohydrates converted into simpler, more digestible forms through the sprouting process. Hydration plays an important role too. The fiber in beans absorbs water, so drinking plenty of fluids helps everything move through your digestive system more smoothly. This can prevent that stuck feeling some people experience after eating beans. Gentle physical activity after meals, even just a short walk, can also help stimulate digestion and reduce bloating. For those who still experience significant discomfort despite these measures, enzyme supplements containing alpha-galactosidase, the enzyme that breaks down oligosaccharides, can be helpful when taken with bean-containing meals. These are derived from natural sources and can significantly reduce gas production by doing the work our bodies can't do on their own. The long-term benefits of including beans in your diet are well worth working through any initial digestive challenges. Regular bean consumption has been linked to improved cholesterol levels, better blood sugar control, reduced inflammation, and even longer lifespan. Their combination of protein, fiber, and slow-digesting carbohydrates makes them particularly valuable as we age, helping maintain muscle mass, digestive regularity, and steady energy levels. Perhaps most importantly, beans are one of the most affordable sources of high-quality nutrition available, making them especially valuable for those on fixed incomes. With proper preparation and gradual introduction, most people can learn to enjoy beans without significant discomfort. It's all about giving your body time to adapt and finding the preparation methods that work best for your individual digestion. The key is patience and persistence. Your gut microbiome is remarkably adaptable, and with consistent exposure, it will often adjust to handle beans more efficiently over time. Now, let's talk about cruciferous vegetables, things like broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts. Let's explore one of the most nutritionally dense yet sometimes problematic food groups for mature digestive systems: cruciferous vegetables. This family of veggies, including broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and kale, represents some of nature's most potent sources of vitamins, minerals, and cancer-fighting compounds. But if you've ever noticed that a hearty serving of roasted Brussels sprouts or a fresh broccoli salad leaves you feeling uncomfortably bloated or gassy afterward, you're experiencing a perfectly normal biological response that becomes more pronounced as we age. The science behind this reaction is fascinating and relates to the unique composition of these vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables contain a complex sugar called raffinose, the same compound we find in beans that causes digestive challenges. Like with beans, our bodies lack the specific enzyme, alpha-galactosidase, needed to break down raffinose in the upper digestive tract. When this undigested sugar reaches our large intestine, the resident gut bacteria ferment it, producing carbon dioxide, methane, and hydrogen gas as byproducts. This explains that familiar bloated feeling and increased flatulence many experience after eating these otherwise incredibly healthy vegetables. But the story doesn't end with raffinose. Cruciferous vegetables also contain significant amounts of sulfur-containing compounds called glucosinolates, the very substances that give these vegetables their distinctive, sometimes pungent aroma and taste. While these compounds are largely responsible for the cancer-protective benefits of cruciferous veggies, they can also contribute to digestive discomfort in some individuals. When these sulfur compounds break down during digestion, they can produce that characteristic rotten egg smell and gas, which many find particularly unpleasant. What's especially important to understand is that these reactions aren't signs of poor health or something being wrong with your digestion. In fact, the fermentation process that causes gas is actually feeding your beneficial gut bacteria and producing important short-chain fatty acids that nourish your colon lining. The challenge lies in finding ways to enjoy these nutritional powerhouses while minimizing uncomfortable side effects, something that becomes increasingly important as our digestive efficiency naturally declines with age. Cooking methods make a tremendous difference in how our bodies handle cruciferous vegetables. Raw cruciferous veggies present the greatest digestive challenge because their cell walls remain intact, making all those complex compounds more difficult to break down. Light steaming, just until the vegetables become slightly tender but still retain some crispness, begins breaking down the tough cellular structures and raffinose molecules while preserving most of the nutritional value. This partial breakdown means there's less work for your gut bacteria to do later, resulting in less gas production. For those who struggle with significant bloating, more thorough cooking may be beneficial. Roasting, braising, or sautéing cruciferous vegetables until quite soft can make them significantly easier to digest. The longer cooking times and higher temperatures help break down more of the problematic fibers and sugars. A helpful tip is to cut the vegetables into smaller pieces before cooking. This increases the surface area exposed to heat and speeds the breakdown of tough fibers. For example, chopping broccoli into small florets or shredding Brussels sprouts will make them more digestible than eating them whole. Fermentation offers another excellent way to enjoy cruciferous vegetables while improving their digestibility. Traditional preparations like sauerkraut, fermented cabbage, or kimchi, Korean fermented vegetables, undergo a natural process where beneficial bacteria predigest many of the complex carbohydrates that cause gas. These fermented versions not only are easier on your stomach but also provide probiotics that support overall gut health. Even a brief 24 to 48 hour fermentation of homemade slaws can make a noticeable difference in digestibility. Pairing cruciferous vegetables with certain herbs and spices can significantly improve their tolerability. Ginger, long used in traditional medicine as a digestive aid, contains enzymes that help break down gas-producing compounds. Try adding freshly grated ginger to stir-fried broccoli or sipping ginger tea with your meal. Fennel seeds, either chewed after eating or incorporated into dishes, have carminative properties that help prevent gas formation. Other helpful digestive aids include turmeric, cumin, and caraway seeds, all of which complement the flavors of cruciferous vegetables beautifully while supporting digestion. The timing and combination of foods can also influence how well you tolerate these vegetables. Eating cruciferous vegetables as part of a mixed meal rather than alone often reduces digestive distress because other foods help moderate the digestive process. Some people find they handle these vegetables better earlier in the day when digestive function tends to be stronger, rather than at the evening meal. Chewing thoroughly is particularly important with cruciferous veggies. The mechanical breakdown in your mouth starts the digestive process and reduces the workload on your gut. Portion control plays a crucial role in enjoying these vegetables comfortably. While nutritionists often recommend generous servings of vegetables, those with sensitive digestion may need to start with smaller portions of cruciferous varieties, perhaps half a cup cooked, and gradually increase as tolerance improves. This gradual approach allows your gut microbiome to adjust to the increased fiber and complex carbohydrates. Over time, many people find they can comfortably handle larger portions as their digestive system adapts. It's worth noting that different cruciferous vegetables affect people differently. While broccoli and Brussels sprouts might cause noticeable gas for some, vegetables like bok choy or Napa cabbage often prove gentler on digestion. The more strongly flavored varieties tend to contain higher concentrations of sulfur compounds, so experimenting with milder options can be helpful for those particularly sensitive to these effects. For those who still experience significant discomfort despite these strategies, enzyme supplements containing alpha-galactosidase, the same enzyme that helps with bean digestion, can be taken with meals containing cruciferous vegetables. These over-the-counter supplements provide the enzyme missing in our digestive tracts that's needed to break down raffinose. Similarly, digestive bitters taken before meals can stimulate natural enzyme production and bile flow, improving overall digestive function. The health benefits of regularly consuming cruciferous vegetables are too significant to ignore, especially as we age. These vegetables are packed with antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, and nutrients particularly important for mature adults, including vitamin K, crucial for bone health, folate, and fiber. Their sulforaphane content has been shown to support detoxification pathways and may offer protection against certain cancers. The fiber in these vegetables also supports healthy gut bacteria populations, which we now understand plays a critical role in everything from immune function to mental health. Rather than eliminating these nutritional powerhouses due to digestive concerns, the smarter approach is to experiment with different preparation methods, portion sizes, and combinations to find what works best for your individual system. What proves intolerable raw might be perfectly fine when cooked thoroughly. What causes discomfort in large portions might be easily handled in smaller amounts spread throughout the week. With patience and some culinary creativity, nearly everyone can find ways to incorporate these incredibly healthy vegetables into their diet without paying an uncomfortable price afterward. So far, we've covered dairy, beans, and cruciferous veggies, 3 common triggers for bloating after 60. But there are a couple more big ones we need to talk about, and one of them might surprise you. So, let's keep going. Let's shine a light on a sneaky culprit behind bloating that might surprise you. It's not a specific food group like dairy or vegetables, but something that sneaks into our diets through countless everyday foods: excessive sodium from processed foods. If you've ever felt inexplicably puffy after what seemed like a normal meal, or noticed your rings feeling tight or your ankles looking swollen without obvious reason, the hidden salt in your diet might be the invisible offender. This connection between sodium and bloating is often overlooked because we tend to associate digestive discomfort with specific foods rather than with seasoning or food processing. But understanding this relationship can be a game changer for managing that uncomfortable swollen feeling. The science behind why high-sodium foods cause bloating is fascinating and rooted in basic human physiology. Your body maintains an incredibly precise balance of sodium and water. It's one of the most tightly regulated systems we have. When you consume more sodium than your kidneys can immediately process, your body responds by retaining extra water to maintain the proper sodium concentration in your bloodstream. This water retention occurs throughout your body's tissues, but often becomes most noticeable in your abdomen, hands, and feet. That swollen feeling isn't gas or digestive distress in the traditional sense. It's literally your body holding on to extra fluid to dilute the excess sodium you've consumed. This explains why the bloating from salty foods often feels different from the gassy bloating caused by beans or cruciferous vegetables. It's more of an all-over puffiness rather than specific abdominal distension. What makes sodium-induced bloating particularly tricky is how pervasive high-sodium foods are in the modern diet. We're not just talking about obviously salty foods like potato chips or pretzels, though those certainly contribute. The real challenge comes from the staggering amounts of sodium hidden in foods you might not suspect. A single serving of canned soup can contain nearly half your daily recommended sodium intake. That seemingly healthy turkey sandwich from the deli? The processed meat and cheese could easily put you over 1,000 milligrams of sodium before you even add condiments. Frozen dinners, salad dressings, bread, breakfast cereals, even sweet foods like muffins and cookies often contain surprising amounts of added salt as a preservative and flavor enhancer. This hidden sodium adds up quickly throughout the day, often without us realizing it until that bloated feeling sets in. For those over 60, this sodium bloating connection becomes even more significant because our bodies become less efficient at processing excess salt as we age. Kidney function naturally declines over time, meaning it takes longer for our systems to filter out and eliminate that extra sodium. Additionally, many common medications prescribed to older adults, including some blood pressure medications, anti-inflammatories, and even certain antidepressants, can further affect how our bodies handle sodium and water balance. This perfect storm of factors explains why that Chinese takeout or deli sandwich that never used to bother you might now leave you feeling uncomfortably puffy for hours or even days afterward. The good news is that unlike some food intolerances that require complete elimination, managing sodium-induced bloating doesn't mean you have to give up flavor or convenience entirely. It's all about smarter choices and simple preparation tricks that can dramatically reduce your sodium intake without sacrificing enjoyment. When using canned vegetables or beans, which are otherwise fantastic pantry staples, simply rinsing them under cold running water for 30 to 60 seconds can wash away up to 40% of the added sodium. For even better control, look for no salt added or low sodium versions of canned goods, which are becoming increasingly available. When shopping for prepared foods, make it a habit to check the nutrition labels, not just for calories, but for sodium content. You'll quickly learn which brands offer lower sodium options, and you might be shocked to see how much variation exists between similar products. Reimagining your approach to flavor can make a world of difference in reducing sodium-related bloating. Instead of relying on salt as your primary seasoning, explore the vibrant world of herbs, spices, and other flavor boosters. Fresh garlic, ginger, and citrus zest add incredible depth without a grain of salt. Vinegars, from balsamic to apple cider to rice wine, provide that same flavor-enhancing acidity that makes food pop. Smoked paprika, cumin, curry powders, and chili flakes can transform bland foods into exciting culinary experiences. Even simple black pepper, when freshly ground, offers more complexity than you might remember. The key is to think of salt not as your only seasoning option, but as one player in an orchestra of flavors, used sparingly to enhance rather than dominate. When it comes to processed meats like deli slices, sausages, and bacon, consider them occasional treats rather than daily staples. If you do indulge, look for lower sodium versions. Many brands now offer them, or balance them with plenty of fresh vegetables and whole grains to help offset the sodium load. Better yet, try roasting your own chicken or turkey breast to slice for sandwiches. You'll be amazed at how much flavor properly cooked poultry has without needing heavy salting. For that satisfying umami taste many of us crave from processed meats, explore alternatives like sautéed mushrooms, roasted tomatoes, or a sprinkle of nutritional yeast. Timing matters too when it comes to sodium intake. Consuming your saltiest meal earlier in the day gives your body more time to process the sodium before bedtime, potentially reducing next morning puffiness. If you know you'll be enjoying a higher sodium meal, balance it out with very low sodium choices for the rest of the day. For example, if you're having dinner at a restaurant where sodium levels are notoriously high, focus on fresh fruits, vegetables, and unsalted foods for breakfast and lunch to create balance. The benefits of reducing sodium-induced bloating extend far beyond just feeling more comfortable. Consistently high sodium intake can contribute to high blood pressure, which becomes an increasing concern as we age. By taking steps to reduce bloating, you're often simultaneously supporting better cardiovascular health, a wonderful two-for-one benefit. Many people find that as they adjust to lower sodium eating over several weeks, their taste buds become more sensitive to salt, meaning they can enjoy the same level of flavor with far less sodium than before. This natural adjustment makes maintaining lower sodium habits increasingly effortless over time. Perhaps most importantly, remember that perfection isn't the goal. Awareness and improvement are what count. There will be days when you choose to enjoy that extra salty treat, and that's perfectly fine. The key is understanding why you might feel bloated afterward and having strategies to help your body recover, like increasing your water intake and choosing lower sodium options at your next meal. By viewing sodium reduction as an ongoing experiment rather than a rigid set of rules, you'll find sustainable ways to enjoy your food while keeping bloating in check. After all, eating should remain one of life's great pleasures at every age. We just want to ensure you can enjoy your meals without paying for them later with discomfort. Next up, let's talk about something sweet: artificial sweeteners. Let's explore one of the most paradoxical causes of bloating, the very products many people turn to in their quest for better health: artificial sweeteners. These zero-calorie sugar substitutes, found in everything from diet sodas to sugar-free candies to light yogurt, promise the sweetness we crave without the calories or blood sugar spikes of real sugar. Yet for many people, especially as we get older, these seemingly innocent alternatives can trigger digestive distress that leaves them feeling more inflated than a balloon at a birthday party. If you've ever chewed sugar-free gum only to find yourself uncomfortably gassy an hour later, or enjoyed a diet soda with lunch and spent the afternoon feeling inexplicably bloated, you've experienced firsthand how these synthetic sweeteners can affect mature digestive systems. The science behind why artificial sweeteners cause bloating is both fascinating and slightly ironic. Most sugar alcohols, the category that includes sweeteners like sorbitol, xylitol, mannitol, and erythritol, are what chemists call low-digestible carbohydrates. This means they pass through your small intestine without being fully absorbed, arriving nearly intact in your large intestine where your gut bacteria eagerly ferment them. This fermentation process produces gas, primarily hydrogen and carbon dioxide, as a byproduct, leading to that familiar bloated sensation and sometimes even cramping or diarrhea in sensitive individuals. The effect is particularly pronounced with sugar alcohols because, unlike natural sugars that are mostly absorbed upstream, nearly all of these synthetic compounds reach your colon where they become food for gas-producing bacteria. What makes this situation especially tricky is that people vary dramatically in their sensitivity to different artificial sweeteners. Some might handle xylitol with no issues but find that sorbitol causes significant distress. Others might tolerate small amounts but experience problems with larger doses. This variability stems from differences in our gut microbiomes, the unique collection of bacteria living in our digestive tracts, which changes naturally as we age. As our gut flora composition shifts over the years, we may develop new sensitivities to compounds we once tolerated well. Additionally, our digestive enzymes become less efficient with age, making it harder to break down certain compounds that never used to cause problems. The forms in which we consume these sweeteners also matters significantly. A sugar-free hard candy sweetened with isomalt might cause fewer issues than a sugar-free chocolate bar loaded with maltitol, simply because we tend to consume more of the sweetener and larger products. Similarly, chewing multiple pieces of sugar-free gum throughout the day can deliver a substantial dose of sorbitol or xylitol, often enough to trigger digestive distress in sensitive individuals. Even products marketed as natural sugar alternatives like certain stevia blends or monk fruit extracts sometimes contain sugar alcohols as bulking agents, which can be just as problematic as purely synthetic options for those with sensitivities. For those managing diabetes or watching their weight, the realization that artificial sweeteners might be causing bloating presents a real dilemma. The good news is that you don't necessarily need to eliminate these products entirely. There are several strategies to enjoy sweetness without the discomfort. First, becoming a label detective can help you identify which specific sweeteners affect you most. Keep a simple journal noting which products you consume and any subsequent digestive symptoms. You might discover, for example, that beverages sweetened with aspartame don't bother you, but anything containing maltitol does. This personalized approach is far more effective than blanket elimination. When you do choose to consume products with sugar alcohols, portion control becomes crucial. Instead of eating an entire, sugar-free candy bar, try having just a small piece and see how your system responds. Similarly, limit yourself to 1 or 2 pieces of sugar-free gum rather than chewing it constantly throughout the day. Spreading out your consumption rather than having a large dose all at once gives your digestive system a better chance to handle these compounds without becoming overwhelmed. For those looking to reduce artificial sweeteners but not ready to return to sugar, several gentler alternatives exist. Small amounts of real maple syrup or honey, while not calorie-free, contain beneficial compounds and are generally easier on digestion than sugar alcohols. Fresh or frozen fruit can satisfy sweet cravings while providing fiber and nutrients. Try mashed banana in oatmeal or frozen grapes as a sweet snack. Dark chocolate, 70% cocoa or higher, contains less sugar than milk chocolate and provides antioxidants. Just a square or 2 can satisfy a sweet tooth without the bloating effects of sugar-free treats. If you're particularly fond of carbonated diet drinks, consider transitioning to sparkling water with a splash of real fruit juice or a few slices of fresh citrus. This provides the fizziness many people crave without artificial sweeteners. Herbal teas served chilled can also make refreshing alternatives. Hibiscus tea has natural tartness that many find pleasantly similar to sweetened beverages. For coffee drinkers, gradually reducing the amount of sweetener used over several weeks can recalibrate your taste buds to appreciate coffee's natural flavors with less or no sweetener. The psychological aspect of sweetness deserves mention too. Many of us reach for sweet foods out of habit rather than actual craving. Taking a moment to check in with yourself before eating something sweet, asking, "Do I really want this, or am I eating it out of routine?" can help reduce unnecessary consumption of problem sweeteners. When you do choose something sweet, savoring it mindfully rather than consuming it quickly often leads to greater satisfaction with smaller amounts. Perhaps most importantly, remember that digestive tolerance exists on a spectrum. Where you fall on that spectrum may change over time and doesn't need to be all or nothing. Some people find they can enjoy artificial sweeteners occasionally without issue but experience problems with daily use. Others discover that certain forms, like liquid drops, bother them less than powdered versions in foods. There's no universal, right, answer, only what works best for your unique digestive system at this stage of your life. As we navigate these choices, it helps to maintain perspective. While bloating is uncomfortable and frustrating, it's also your body's way of communicating what works for it and what doesn't. Learning this language of digestion, noticing how different foods affect you and making adjustments accordingly, is one of the most powerful tools we have for maintaining comfort and well-being as we age. The goal isn't perfection or total elimination of every potential bloating trigger, but rather developing awareness and flexibility in your eating patterns that allow you to enjoy life while minimizing discomfort. After all, food is meant to be enjoyed. We just want to ensure that enjoyment isn't followed by regret. With some experimentation and patience, most people can find a sweet spot, pun intended, where they can satisfy their sweet tooth without paying the price of bloating and discomfort afterward. And speaking of balance, there's one more big bloating culprit we need to discuss, one that's often overlooked but can make a huge difference in how you feel after meals. So, let's keep going. Let's delve into one of the most overlooked yet surprisingly common causes of bloating: refined carbohydrates. These ever-present staples of modern diets, including white bread, pasta, pastries, and anything made with white flour, have a sneaky way of disrupting our digestive comfort, especially as we get older. What makes refined carbs particularly problematic isn't just what they contain, but more importantly, what's been stripped away during processing. When whole grains are refined into white flour, nearly all the fiber is removed along with most of the beneficial nutrients, leaving behind a simple carbohydrate that behaves quite differently in our digestive systems than its whole grain counterpart. The digestive journey of refined carbohydrates begins almost the moment they enter your mouth. Without the buffering effect of fiber, these simple carbs break down into sugar rapidly, causing quick spikes in blood glucose levels. This sudden surge triggers your pancreas to release insulin to manage the sugar load, often leading to that familiar cycle of energy crashes and cravings. But beyond these metabolic effects, refined carbs create several digestive challenges. The lack of fiber means they move through your system more slowly than fiber-rich foods, often resulting in that heavy, sluggish feeling many people experience after eating a meal heavy in white flour products. This slow transit time allows more opportunity for fermentation in the gut, which can produce gas and contribute to bloating. What's particularly interesting is how our body's ability to handle refined carbohydrates changes as we age. Many people who could enjoy a big bowl of white pasta or several slices of white bread without issue in their younger years suddenly find these same foods causing discomfort later in life. This shift occurs because our digestive enzyme production naturally declines with age, making it harder to efficiently break down these simple carbohydrates. Additionally, our gut microbiome, the community of bacteria that plays such a crucial role in digestion, changes over time, often becoming less efficient at processing refined foods. The combination of these factors means that foods we once tolerated well can become significant bloating triggers as we get older. The bloating caused by refined carbs often feels different from other types of digestive discomfort. Rather than sharp gas pains or localized distension, it tends to manifest as a general feeling of heaviness and fullness that lingers for hours after eating. Some people describe it as feeling stuffed, even when they haven't eaten an unusually large quantity. This is because refined carbohydrates can cause water retention in the digestive tract, adding to that puffy, uncomfortable sensation. The lack of fiber also means these foods don't provide the same bulk that helps maintain regular bowel movements, potentially leading to constipation, another contributor to that bloated feeling. But here's the good news: enjoying carbohydrates doesn't have to mean resigning yourself to bloating and discomfort. The solution isn't elimination, but rather thoughtful substitution and preparation. When it comes to bread, look for options where the first ingredient is 100% whole wheat flour or whole grain flour, rather than just wheat flour, which is essentially white flour in disguise. True whole grain products contain all parts of the grain, the bran, germ, and endosperm, providing natural fiber that helps regulate digestion. The difference can be remarkable. Many people find they can enjoy several slices of good quality whole grain bread without any bloating, while just 1 or 2 slices of white bread leave them feeling uncomfortably full. Pasta lovers have particularly exciting options available today. Beyond traditional whole wheat pasta, which has come a long way in taste and texture, there are now pastas made from legumes like lentils, chickpeas, and black beans. These alternatives provide significantly more protein and fiber than even whole wheat pasta, with the added benefit of being naturally gluten-free. The extra protein helps slow digestion, preventing those blood sugar spikes that can contribute to bloating, while the additional fiber supports healthy gut motility. If you're new to these alternatives, try mixing them with regular pasta at first to ease the transition. You might be surprised at how satisfying they can be. For those who enjoy baking, experimenting with alternative flours can open up a world of delicious possibilities while reducing bloating. Almond flour, coconut flour, and oat flour all bring unique flavors and textures to baked goods while providing more fiber and nutrients than white flour. Even replacing just half the white flour in recipes with whole wheat flour can make a noticeable difference in how you feel afterward. When baking with these alternatives, remember that they behave differently than white flour. You may need to adjust liquid quantities or add binding agents like eggs or flaxseed. The timing of when you eat refined carbohydrates can also influence how they affect you. Many people find they tolerate these foods better earlier in the day when digestive function is typically strongest. Eating a large bowl of pasta or several slices of bread late at night, when digestion naturally slows down, may be more likely to lead to next morning bloating. Pairing refined carbs with protein, healthy fats, and vegetables can also help moderate their impact on your digestion. For example, Having pasta with a protein-rich meat sauce and a side of vegetables will generally cause less bloating than eating plain pasta with just a light sauce. Hydration plays a crucial role in managing bloating from refined carbohydrates. The fiber in whole grain alternatives absorbs water as it moves through your digestive tract, so drinking adequate fluids helps everything move along smoothly. This is particularly important when increasing your fiber intake, as doing so without proper hydration can actually worsen bloating temporarily until your system adjusts. Aim to drink water throughout the day rather than just with meals for optimal hydration. It's worth noting that some people may experience temporary increased gas when first switching to whole grain products as their gut bacteria adjust to the higher fiber intake. This usually resolves within a week or two as the microbiome adapts. Starting with smaller portions of whole grains and gradually increasing can help minimize this transition period. The long-term benefits reduce bloating, more stable energy levels, and better digestive health are well worth this short adjustment period. As we consider all these dietary adjustments, it's important to remember that perfection isn't the goal. The aim is to find a sustainable balance where you can enjoy the foods you love while minimizing discomfort. If you occasionally want to enjoy a croissant or bowl of white pasta, by all means do so. Just be mindful of portions and how your body responds. Many people find they can enjoy small amounts of refined carbs without issue, especially when balanced with other foods, while larger quantities trigger bloating. Ultimately, paying attention to how different carbohydrate sources affect your digestion is one of the most powerful tools for managing bloating. Keep in mind that everyone's tolerance is different. You might handle certain refined carbs better than others, or find that some whole grain alternatives suit you better than some. The key is tuning into your body's signals and making adjustments that work for your unique digestive system. With some experimentation and patience, you can likely find ways to enjoy satisfying carbohydrates without the uncomfortable bloating that often follows. After all, food should be a source of pleasure and nourishment at every stage of life. We just want to ensure that enjoyment isn't overshadowed by discomfort. At the end of the day, bloating isn't just about food, it's about feeling your best so you can enjoy life without constant discomfort. And you deserve that. So try these tips, listen to your body, and don't be too hard on yourself. Even small changes can lead to big improvements in how you feel every day. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed certain foods that make you feel bloated? Or have you found a trick that works for you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more simple, practical tips to feel your best after 60. Here's to happy digestion and enjoying every bite of life, without the bloat. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next video.